what I wanted to say was that CSR has to look at how it does business more responsibly rather than looking at what it does after it's done business. So that's one point. The second point that I'd like to highlight is that organizations typically, when you communicate in CSR, you tend to communicate two ways. One is internal communication, which is the whole influence group, the group that is the set of people that you're going to influence with your activity. And second is external communication, which you do through your CSR reports and to your shareholders and to the general public. Unfortunately, there is too much energy, time and resources going into external communication than internal communication. I think internal communication is far more crucial than external communication. So that CSR has to introspect and do it better. The third thing that I'd like to say is that CSR has the seriousness of an organization's CSR activity is evident from who handles the CSR, who heads the CSR activity. Unfortunately, 95 to 99% of companies that engage in CSR of some kind, actually CSR activity is handled by a junior level employee from the marketing department. That's very unfortunate. I think CSR has to, and if organizations are going to be serious about CSR, I think they have to have an executive director level position handling CSR. Person must report to the CEO, and the CEO must be very actively involved in CSR. The fourth thing that I'd like to say is that every time there's a global economic crisis, activities such as CSR are going to come under spotlight, and organizations like yours, Peters, and your services, and a lot of other organizations will be under spotlight, and they'll have to explain and account. I wouldn't say account for. I mean, everybody accounts for this, but every penny that is spent on CSR activity is going to be under pressure, and there will be a lot of questioning about it. So organizations, this has happened in the CSR was discovered as a subject in 1953 by a book that was titled Social Responsibility of Business. But its first real crisis came in 1970s in the oil shock, and then the 99 and 2000 in the economic crisis, the global telecom and IT bust. And now as you all know, we've already entered a very, very tough economic situation, and CSR is going to be challenged by everybody from the CFO to the CEO. So these are going to be very difficult times for CSR. The fifth thing that I'd like to say is that CSR as an investment has to go beyond 0.25% of the company's net profit. There are organizations within India that have gone up to 1%, for instance. I think M&M is one of them. But I think if organizations are serious about this, they have to take it beyond this. If the CEO of an organization can take 5% of net profit, I can't see why CSR can't do at least 2% or 3%. I think ideally it should be at least 5%. So those are the 5 thoughts I'd like to leave you with. Thank you.
So I thought I would start off with a little bit of history about Yes Bank, since we are pretty much the new kids on the block as far as the financial sector in India. We're just about 4 years old. I think we've just crossed 4 years. We're the first greenfield license that was given in the last 14 years. And we happen to have something very unique about ourselves. Because it's such a crowded market, we came up with several unique things. But one of the unique things is we have responsible banking as a key pillar of the way we do business. I found this morning's discussion and the comments of Amit and Rajiv actually very compelling to talk about this, because I think we are a company that's differently from others. So I think I'm very thrilled that I was invited to be on this panel. I think the fact of the matter is that we call it responsible banking, but it's really corporate social responsibility and sustainability drivers for us is having a triple bottom line approach, which we spoke about this morning. Not just for ourselves, not just the way we do business, but also the way our clients do business. And secondly, which in a developing country I think is probably even more important, looking for business solutions to social and environmental issues. Essentially, we're looking for those solutions, not just because we have a heart, but we believe that a sustainable focus has a longer-term benefit and a longer-term more profitability. The other thing I want to also comment on, and this came up in this morning's discussion, is we're not just looking for products and services for the bottom of the pyramid, we're also looking to find ways to make the bottom of the pyramid no longer at the bottom of the pyramid, which I think is missed out by a lot of organizations. The second point I wanted to make was a little bit on the issue of nomenclature and humane capital versus all of these other terminologies that we use. And I guess Yes Bank is also responsible for doing that, calling ourselves responsible banking. But I specifically wanted to just make a little comment on the humane part, because I think for us, the way we look at it is there is what we call a sustainability zone. For some, being humane is doing philanthropy and making a difference. But I don't think the opposite is true. Doing business, making profits is not actually inhumane. It is how a country grows. It's how we've been able to be sustainable, and we've had the kind of progress that we've had in this nation. But the way we look at it is that there's something in between, that there is this sustainability zone where you're making a difference and you're making profits together. And I just wanted to throw that out there for comment and discussion afterwards. The third part of my discussion was I wanted to touch on this notion of partnerships, and that was actually part of our topic. And I think for the financial institution, where we touch so many every single sector, frankly, that is actually the key, and that is precisely the way in which we find ourselves doing business. But particularly in this space of development banking or responsible banking, we think partnership is the key. We see governments as having governments of all kinds, and central and state governments of having the resources and having the reach to make a difference. We see NGOs and the whole not-for-profit sector as having the on-the-ground know-how, the ability to do execution, actually making things happen. And then we see ourselves and other corporate partners as efficient and efficacious. Basically, using that know-how, and that's kind of where I also wanted to talk about the inhumane versus the humane, but using that know-how from dealing with markets, dealing with capitalism, and making a difference, that experience to have a greater good. Just a couple of notes on how it is that Yes Bank is doing this. As far as the areas that we're working and that my team and the teams that work with me are doing this, we spread the whole gamut of CSR and responsible banking. We start at governance, our own governance, and go all the way up to global issues. And we had a discussion this morning about stakeholders. I would say you're also thinking about the same kind of stakeholders. We go all the way from our clients and our shareholders